Hi guys, happy Black Friday. Are you doing anything fun today? Are you actually going in your real person to a store to buy something? If you are, I want to hear about it super quick. Years ago, my computer, I think it was my husband's computer had a problem and his mouse broke and we needed to buy a new mouse. And we literally went to Best Buy on Black Friday by accident just to get a new mouse. It was a disaster. And I don't know that I will do that again. I have just never been a big Black Friday shopper, but if you are, I want to hear about your adventures. So come and share them with me. Um, if I have any Black Friday excitement going on, I'm going to be posting about it in the Facebook group. So come and share your Black Friday adventures in there if you want. And also check out anything I've got going on in there. It's called Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette. Okay, let's get to work, guys. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, and I hope your Thanksgiving was so, so good. And if it wasn't, then please accept my true condolences, because I feel like nothing is worse than having a really bad holiday that you're supposed to spend with family and either you don't and you want to, or you did and you regret it. Ugh, either way, it can just be the worst. So I hope that your Thanksgiving is fabulous. And if it wasn't, I'm sorry, my friend. I'm so sorry. Yesterday, one thing I encouraged us all to work on was self-loathing, because when we loathe ourselves, when we hate ourselves, it causes full body reactions and full emotional reactions, not just in ourselves, but even in the people around us. One thing I didn't mention was the power of broadcast signals. And I have a session on this in my website, aliduzetclasses.com, which is amazing. If I may toot my own horn, it's so good. What is a broadcast signal? A broadcast signal is like a sign that's above your head. Have you ever had this experience where you're like, is there a sign on my head that says ignore me? Is there a sign on my head that says, make fun of me today? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes on an energetic level, there truly are signs that are directing other people to treat you that way, that you have put them on your own space for whatever reason. And so a lot of people say, well, why would I put a sign on myself that says betray me in all of my friendships? And that's a great question. But if you think about the answer, there's a lot of reasons why people would do that. For example, guilt and shame and self-loathing, right? When we despise our own selves, when we have created a story where we are the bad guy, it leads to disaster. And we create weird energies that direct other people to treat us like we are the bad guy. So broadcast signals, I didn't even think about talking about this before I sat down and talked about it. So, oh, well, that's okay. Go check out aliduzetclasses.com. Check out broadcast signals. It's a great class. It's a class. It's going to teach you how to rewrite all of your broadcast signals. And it's also a session, and I rewrite 12 of the most common broadcast signals that pretty much everybody has. So that's really good. But we're on an ancestral healing kick. This is the month that we're really focusing on that really hard. Now, I had somebody write in like a long time ago, and she said that she just really disagreed with ancestral healing and that it wasn't necessary and that it was bad and all this kind of thing. And so the big question is, are you feeling a difference? Are you feeling a difference? And one of the big concerns was just that we need to focus on our own healing and not our ancestors' healing. And I was like, exactly. I've been in this business for 9 years, and this is the 1 month that I have like dedicated every day to working on ancestral healing, and we're not doing it every day, right? We're doing it every other day because you have to heal yourself first, right? Because that lady is totally right. Like, you do have to heal yourself first. You have to heal you. And then when you have healed a thing, then you can go through and clear it for your ancestors. So that's what we're working on. And I don't know, you are really smart, and you are an intelligent person. And so you are qualified to, experiment with this stuff and see for yourself if you feel like you are seeing really good stuff or not. Like, by their fruits ye shall know them, if you are familiar with that biblical phrase. I just feel like so many of us have seen real miracles from doing this work. And I'm not one that thinks that we should do all ancestral healing all the time. If you did the general ancestral healing session, which is linked below, you know that I put in really strict boundaries, and I don't really recommend doing more than like an hour a week of ancestral work in normal life. And in normal life, I do barely any at all now, because I did a ton years ago when I first started going into this. And what happened for me was one day I was doing so much ancestral work. I couldn't even tell you, all day long, all night long. I was doing it around the clock and I just couldn't get enough. They couldn't get enough, I guess. And one day I was going to do some more ancestral healing work, and I felt like Jesus came and just it was like this vision where I was standing there. I had like all my ancestors, and he like kind of like plucked me up from my ancestors and put me on my own rock. I call it the rock of my Redeemer. And this message was just like, it was the kind of like, you graduated, you know, like you did enough work from your ancestors. Now you can really just focus on you. And it kind of felt almost like a little bit, I don't know, a shield or protection is like not the right word for it, but it was kind of like all of their junk doesn't affect me so much now. You know, when we're living in an unconscious state, when there's this huge backlog of ancestral trauma that we're just working through, it affects us a lot. But when you clear out a whole bunch of it, I really do believe you get to a point where you get to kind of graduate from having to deal with it so much, and you can just focus on you. And I feel like that has happened to me. My goal is that by the end of November, hopefully it will happen for many of all of us, you know, where we've done a ton of stuff, cleared out a whole bunch of stuff from the family line, and we can just move forward and just be happy and have great lives without having to continue the patterns of our ancestors. That is my real goal. So something's coming into my mind, which is that a different person messaged me saying that she thought I was totally crazy because Jesus can heal things beyond the grave as well as here. And this is my big thought about that, because I agree. I agree 10,000%. And this is something that people say about like pre-Earth trauma. I don't believe that people can come to Earth traumatized because during the war in heaven, during our pre-Earth existence, we were with Jesus. And so we obviously would have been healed immediately, right? Here's the big thing, okay? Jesus can heal anything and everything, and he can do it instantly. So why are you not healed now? Okay? Why is your mom not healed? Why is your uncle not healed? Why is your kid not healed? Why? Like that's like a real question. Why? Because it's not that simple. That's one short answer, because it's not that simple. Another answer is we have to choose into it, right? We have to make the choice to accept his healing. And that's the thing about pre-Earth trauma. I think, yeah, I think people are right. There's no reason for us to be born with trauma when we existed with God and Jesus before we were born. But we coexist with God and Jesus right here and now, and we're all wounded and weird. Why? Because we have not sufficiently turned over our crap to them to be healed. And what makes us think that we were more enlightened back then? We have all the same access to Jesus's healing power today as we did back then. And guess what? We're not using it to its complete extent, correct? Absolutely correct. If we were using it to its complete extent, we would all be glorified beings right now, and we are not. So I don't know. I just feel like this is part of our pre-resurrection, end of the world type of mortality state, and pre-mortal and post-mortal state, like before we are all resurrected and in heaven and all of that stuff. We like it's not just as easy as just saying like, Jesus, heal me. Like people say that, and they're not always healed miraculously instantly. Maybe you have had that experience. Maybe you have prayed for healing for decades and it hasn't shown up. Why? Because it's a little bit more complicated than that, right? I hope we can agree on that. So anyway, back to ancestral healing, I do agree that God and Jesus can like heal our ancestors. Certainly. My own experience has just been that my own ancestors have come to me and said, I was a victim of massive trauma and I need help clearing it, and I cannot clear it without your help. That's been my experience. So if you think I'm crazy, that's fine. And I still like you, and I still like me, and we're going to keep going. Okay, today, the big challenge is to do the session on self-loathing on behalf of our ancestors. I think that this can be a really big deal because as I've, been feeling out about this series, the thing about self-loathing in particular is that I feel like it can be really linked to things like depression And I wonder how much it is also linked to things like anxiety, just because when you strongly dislike yourself, it makes you kind of second guess everything that you do, right? Like when you don't like yourself, don't you also not really trust yourself? And it just causes all sorts of problems. When that's passed down through the family line, I think it can cause really big problems. So I just feel really excited about what is going to shift doing this work on self-loathing on behalf of our ancestral lines. Um, when I sat down and prepared this list of what we were going to work through this month, I did not have any, like, I didn't look up when Thanksgiving was. I didn't look up anything. I literally just was like, okay, what is the order that we're going to do this in? And I sat down and I looked at my screen and I of my website, and I like looked at the ones that caught my eye and I wrote them down and put them in the right order according to, like, as I looked at it, I would like feel this like feeling, like this movement of up of like that's what goes on this day. And so healing for self-loathing, I think that that's a really interesting one for today. And I'm just really interested to hear what everybody's experience is with it in general for ancestors and like also for today. But I thought that this was a really interesting one also because one that I would have preferred to do was healing self-sabotage. Honestly, that was like my mental top priority for this month. I was like, we got to do the self-sabotage session on behalf of our ancestors. And it's not in the list, which is like so confusing to me. And I don't know why, to be honest. Like, even though I like made this list, it just didn't feel right to put it on there. It felt like this one was more important because this is the one I was like, can we just X this one and put in self-sabotage? And it was like, no, you have to do healing from self-loathing today. That's not for everybody. Okay. Of course, go at your own pace, do your own thing. I don't care what you do, but my only goal here was to create a series where all of us could be kind of guided along again on this path to helping our ancestors heal so that we can graduate from having to recycle their crap for years to come. All of us, we get born into these bodies that are made of ingredients from all of our ancestors, right? All of their genetic ingredients, that is what is making the proteins that is making your body, right? And we didn't necessarily have a big giant choice in every little detail. That's a conversation for another day. Maybe we did. We'll just say that, but it doesn't feel like we did here. And here it can feel like we're caught in these never-ending patterns, but we can break out of them. And that is my goal. That is the real goal that I have for this series, which is almost over. We have like less than 1 week left, which is amazing. You're doing incredible. So hang in there, do what feels right for you. Listen to your own intuition, keep in touch with our creator and ask for wisdom from that direction, because that is the most important kind of direction that any of us can get. So if it's an option between what you're getting from our creator and what you're hearing from me, ignore me. I'm just somebody on the YouTube. So like, listen to God. And that is my opinion. Okay. Happy Black Friday and happy shopping. I hope that you have the best day. I'm sending blessings to your ancestors. Bye, guys.